The first 8-bit microprocessor was released the same year that I was born, 1972. I'll save you the maths, 44. And no, I didn't have a big paper round. This is just what working in the games industry for 25 years is going to do to you, so be warned. There was a lot that wasn't so great about growing up in the 1970s, and chief amongst those was that feeling of doom I had every time that I used to go out and play football at lunchtime at school. I always felt it was going to be interrupted by a Russian nuclear strike at some point, because it was the height of the Cold War, and it kind of sucked growing up in the shadow of the mushroom cloud. But the best thing, without doubt, was the ringside seat that my generation got as that little 8-bit microprocessor that we happened to share our birthdays with went on to literally change the world from being a predominantly analog one when I was a child through to the digital one that we know today. But of course, when I was a kid, I didn't care about all the amazing advances happening in medical science because of microprocessors. What I cared about was the fact that I could play games on my telly. That was what really inspired me. And that got me to the point where I wanted to be a professional game developer, and by the age of 20, I was working in games. Since then, I've worked on dozens and dozens of games, from tiny, obscure ones you'll never have heard of, through to really big ones you probably will have heard of, and everything in between. But mostly, I should stress, really obscure ones you'll never have heard of. and that's actually better than average in our industry, because even the most successful games companies in the world actually struggle to make money from probably 1 in 10 of the games that they make. And that 10-to-1 hit ratio has become a bit of an obsession for me, because I think it kind of implies that the best practice in our industry is still 90% inefficient. I have a bit of a problem with that. And as somebody who's spent every day of their working life crawling around the inside of the creative engine at the heart of one of our creative industries, I can tell you firsthand just how inefficient it can be. The answer is very. What particularly concerns me, though, is the human cost of that inefficiency. Because unlike the manufacturing industries, we don't burn oil or coal in a creative engine. We actually burn people's lives. We burn people's creative potential in the process of making computer games. So we really should be wasting as little of it as we possibly can. Worse still, it leads to a situation where it encourages the kind of employers who will burn the maximum amount of creative potential in pursuit of their goal. Now, that's not healthy. It's certainly not sustainable, and we can do better. And I'm here tonight to talk about somebody who could probably tell us how to do a bit better. He lived in an altogether gentler, more civilized age, the age of steam. This is James Watt. Most people know him as the man who invented the steam engine. Turns out he didn't invent the steam engine at all. The steam engine was actually invented in Cornwall by Thomas Newcomen before James Watt was even born. But, forgetting about that, James Watt did something just as important. He actually doubled the efficiency of Thomas Newcomen's original steam engine design. So you can't say he invented the steam engine, but you can definitely say he invented the steam engine that powered the Industrial Revolution. Not bad for a lad from Greenock. And he did that by spotting that 80% of the steam that was being put to work in Newcomen's engine was actually completely wasted. And being a canny little Scotsman, he realized if he could build a machine that actually wasted less of that steam, then he would be able to pocket the difference in the coal savings that the businesses would make. So that's what he did. Now, my point is, he didn't power the Industrial Revolution by inventing better steam. He powered the revolution by making sure that the machine that it was being pumped into was as efficient as possible. And it strikes me that our creative industries and their creative engines are long overdue a similar upgrade. Were it so simple, of course, it would already have happened. But creative engines are not made of pistons and pipes and levers. They're made of human beings and motivation, creativity, and all these things are really hard to measure. So a lot of people have taken that to mean we just shouldn't bother. It's way too hard, let's not. But I would say, what if James Watt had taken that same view with steam engines? They were just as hard to measure the efficiency of back in James Watt's day. So that's the thing I want to get across tonight. You see, there are already people in other industries that are thinking about this. Elon Musk of Tesla, for example, just said recently in an interview that his biggest epiphany this year was that what matters most in manufacturing is the machine that builds the machine, the factories. And whether we realize it or not, the way that our teams work, the way that we interact with each other in a creative industry, that defines the factory floor and the factory layout of our creative industries. And that ultimately determines their efficiency. It also means that most of our creative businesses at the moment are actually, their layout is determined largely by chance. And imagine if we made cars that way, where we just put together a factory that was randomly laid out. How efficient would that be? It also means that the kind of places that you're going to find improvements in these areas is going to be on the cusp between industrial design and human psychology. And who's studying that? So that's one of the things I've tried to do with my business, is to try and encourage that kind of thinking by inviting PhD students in to do some research on it. But what I'd like to do tonight is to invite everybody here to start thinking about the creative engines at the heart of our creative factories in our creative industries. Because if you look at a city like Dundee and think of all the amazing games that have come out of that in the last 25 years, if I'm right, and we've done that with a creative engine that's only 10% efficient, imagine what we can do if we can find a way to make that engine just 20% efficient. And that's why I think that the most important investment anybody could make in our creative industries at the moment is trying to solve the problem of creative engine efficiency. Thank you. Okay.